Hello everyone. As promised, today I will tell you which wheat will give birth better, cold or without cold. We have two hybrids sown in this field. This is a crane, a cold wheat in Bogdan. On the left, we still have the control not removed. This is a standless wheat. I'll tell you a little bit about the economics of growing wheat in the 2021 season. And do you know where I'll start with the economic indicators of this field? From what is not visible. Do you know what is not visible? When we drove to these 20 hectares, we had a minus battery on the Yums tractor, minus the hydraulic hose burst on the steering wheel, minus 5 liters of oil. The hydraulics were topped up there, the oil was topped up in the motor, in the combine, tractor. Then minus the variator on the combine Niva, plus the belt 110. It turns out minus the variator, minus the belt. Well, everything in my opinion so far there have been no more disadvantages. That's it, let's go count the economy of the field now. So, let's probably start with the fact that we have this field after the predecessor sunflower. After harvesting the sunflower, we had one diskette and after diskette we had sowing. Sowing was carried out. So, the sowing was carried out with a seeding rate of 250 kilograms per hectare, which is about 95 pieces per meter there. That this wheat without, in general, nothing was changed, and they were sown. Dry land at the end of September. It turns out that the approximate price of wheat in early October was 6 hryvnia. That is, we count 250 times 6 and get this figure. After sowing, we received seedlings only in the month of November. After heavy precipitation we had dry land specifically. It turns out October, well, about a month and a half. September, October and shoots we get in the month of November. So, in winter, wheat leaves, well, as if in the all phase. After. What do we get after that? Already in the spring, yes, in the spring we come to this field, the wheat has frozen, there have been fallouts in the wheat field and we bring, it turns out, 120 kilograms of saltpeter. It turns out, well, they wore 110, but plus the edges there, plus an overlap somewhere, it turned out to be an average of 120 kilograms of saltpeter with a seed drill at the root. Saltpeter approximate price is estimated at an average of 8,000 per ton last year, if I'm not mistaken. Well, something like that, let it be 8,000. We multiply 120 by 8 and get this figure. After we had spraying, one spraying turns out the fungicide Phoenix 0.5 liters, 15 grams of Grand Star, 150 grams of Alpha Dicamba and 10 kilograms of carbamide in this composition and 70 grams of Uppercut Acro. All this turned out to be the approximate price of spraying like this. After that, it turns out that we have April, May, June, we have approximately 150 millimeters of precipitation in these 3 months. If it wasn't for this precipitation, I'm more than sure we would have cleaned 1,500 weight, well, maybe 20. So, 20 hundredweight each. Let's see, there was a feeling. You see, there is even more moisture, we had 2 the day before yesterday. Well, in principle, there was some kind of feeling. I see there are 2 stalks in some places, that is, the wheat has blossomed, but we sowed how many there? We got 6 million, let's say 5 million. It has blossomed. It is at the time of cleaning there, roughly speaking, 8 to 9 million should be. So we continue on. We started cleaning on the 16th of June. Approximately there were cuts on that side, on this side. It turns out that we have rut here 690 meters, minus the edges are skewed by 20 and 2040 meters. It turns out 650 meters. We multiply the click by 4, and we get something there. I figured it out in my opinion 52 or 5300 there and back. And how can I tell you, there were moments when I watched the bunker was full under the neck, and there was one that was a little less. But now, even today, I'm doing a control fixation. Now from that side back and forth, let's see how much is in the bunker. There we finish the wheat crane, and then from this side, where Bogdan is, back and forth and look at the control and find out which wheat is pouring better this year. And what else I want to add? Fuel consumption can also be added. We started about when the edges were being mowed down, just drove in, the fuel consumption in the field was there 12, 13, maybe even 14 liters. And yesterday, when the wheat had already dried well, this half milled in the bunker stopped appearing, the consumption decreased to 8 liters. Well, of course, the second gear is already on the Niva combine. Here. Well, that's it. Now we'll do a control sweep on the crane and a control sweep on Bogdana and see what kind of turnover we have at the moment per hectare in this field. Wheat crane, wheat Bogdan. Here we have already added turns, but you see there is a half hammer. There was also a half threshing on the crane, but when it rained, she stood a little longer and disappeared. And here it is still present, not quite ripe yet, you see. This is a hard to grind wheat without it. So now I still have control too by measurement, but I see, in principle, the yield is the same 40 plus the center turns out. The nature of the crane is 777 grams. I want to add, we started to clean the crane before the rain, the wheat was so dark and our neighbors cleaned their Shestopolovka through the forest belts, they handed over a clean third grade. And after the rain, we stopped by to clean up, they stopped by to clean up, the wheat has already become so much lighter, white and immediately to the fourth grade and without talking, and they immediately handed over from the field and immediately minus 200 hryvnia per ton. Bogdan's wheat, looks 775, well, you can see there were a few more pairs there by a few grains. Well, in principle, in general, the nature is the same. About 780 grams. What happens on average is the yield on the same field of two different varieties with the same treatments turns out to be about the same. There may be plus or minus 100 weight and it is not clear. I will add that in Bogdan, of course, there was an undercut in spikelets, so it is possible. Well, it seems to me that in general the crane poured two more on the center there, but Bogdan loses by the fact that he still has a bad threshing and we generally lost some grain in the under threshing there. Well, in principle, this year I saw that this is Bogdana. What's next is a crane. Their yields are the same. At the crane, I can note that it is better ground and it ripens earlier. So we are not selling wheat at this stage, we are storing it, but I can tell you that the price of wheat was $4.50 per forage today when I shoot the video. It can be mowed straight from the field and taken out. Third grade $4.70 in my opinion. Yes, $4.70 is our neighbor's past. That's the price for today. Here, but we hope that after some time the price will still rise there and we will increase the economic effect, the economic turnover from each hectare. I won't guess for how long, but there is such a desire. And today it turns out the turnover from 1 hectare turns if you hand over such an amount. Outside, the heat is incredible. 36 degrees in the shade, it's a nightmare in the sun. We have harvested the first 20 hectares, then we have almost 30 hectares to harvest wheat. But it's unbearable in the company. That is, by the way, in the tractor, too, when I drove it, it's also just tin. In general, today we are resting, and tomorrow we are going to thresh uncles, and then we will move slowly to Bogdana and we have 2 more replacement sites, Laos and Solovushka. So it will be interesting not to switch further. We put likes and who is not subscribed subscribe to our channel. All for everyone so far.